I just want to speak today about a few things you can do to quiet the noise in your life. Technology is a great tool, but many of us have let it get out of control and it's really begun to rule our lives, and we feel like we are serving technology rather than technology serving us. And so these are a few keys that I've used over the last few years. My husband and I put into practice in our family. And I just want to share these strategies, and hopefully one or two of these might be ones that could really help you. First, I recommend choosing to not sleep with your phone or technology in the room if you can help it. There's some amazing studies that show that just having a phone in the same room with you and the alerts that can come through, even if you have it on quiet, can disturb your sleep and affect you. And if at all possible, put that device in another room. If that doesn't work for you, then set a sleep time where you don't get any alerts unless it's an emergency phone call or emergency text or something like that. Pick your hours from 10 to 6 or 11 to 7 a.m. and set those as your quiet hours to unplug and to limit that. So first, don't sleep with your cell phone or technology in the room if at all possible. The second thing I would suggest is to turn off all the alerts on your phone. If you're like me, you probably have 100 apps or more, and every one of those apps wants to alert you multiple times in the day. If those alerts are on average giving you 3 or 4 pings a day, that's 300 or 400 alerts a day that is disturbing your mental state of flow. And honestly, there's a lot of studies that talk about decision fatigue, and it doesn't take a lot, but little distractions that you have to then decide, is this important or is this not important? Am I going to deal with this now or not? If we wake up with a certain capacity each day to make good decisions, you want to use those decisions to focus on the important things and not the mundane and menial things. You don't want to waste that energy that's crucial deciding whether you're going to respond to something that's meaningless. Turn off the alerts on your phone. I only have 1 or 2 apps that I let give me alerts through the day. I can think of one that has started invading my space in the day rather than feeding me what I want. It's starting to be annoying, and so I need to go back and I need to go through that. There's lots of YouTube videos. If you don't know how to change those alerts on your phones, you can find those really easily. The third thing is just turn off the background noise. I don't know what kind of environment you grew up in, but many people I know, you walk in their house and the television is just on in the background all day long, or they live with the radio on, they drive everywhere and there's something playing in the background. I really encourage you to begin to create space in your life for silence. An example of this is my husband. When I met him, I don't think we ever went anywhere in the truck. We did a lot of road trips where he didn't have a radio on or songs playing. And as we just talked about it and the idea of being intentional with this stuff, I just had really encouraged him to begin to drive in silence. That he has decreased the amount he listens to as he drives. And he's been telling me this past year how much he drives in silence and how good it is for him, the thinking that he does. And so when we have space in our lives, in that silence, you become a very active participant of your life. You're not just passive. Practice silence, being in silence and resting in silence and doing things in silence. It can be a really powerful thing. When there is silence, it provokes us to actually do thinking. You're not so much passive anymore, taking in everything else around you. Your mind has to become active, and it really shifts that dynamic. And in quieting that noise, I think it begins to turn the volume up on your own inner voice. You'll have the chance to hear more whispers and stirrings of things like your dreams and hopes and aspirations and longings that sometimes are really suppressed when all we are doing is listening and reading and feeding off of what everyone else is doing and everything else around us. The next thing I would suggest is to begin to set limits and be really intentional with the time that you are using technology. I don't get on a lot of those apps just any time of day. I pick a time and I'll spend 10 or 30 minutes a day running through feeds, maybe Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. I designate that time. I choose to be really intentional and pick the time of day that I'm going to use those platforms and use technology to serve me rather than me serving technology. The last thing I suggest is to pick a day to unplug. If you can't go a whole day, then pick a half day. Pick 3 or 4 hours to unplug, literally. Leave your phone behind in the car. Turn technology off, get away, get outside, and spend a whole day out or multiple days. It can be a really big thing. And, choosing to pick a period of time, if you have a lot of freedom, you might decide to do a detox, a technology detox, once a year for 3 or 4 or 5 days, or once a quarter. I know of a few people that do that. They try and do some sort of major detox of technology for a week or 2 or more a year. It can be really powerful, just unplugging from everything, leaving that phone behind, not using all those other mediums, and just choosing to focus on what's in front of you. So with that, I'll leave you for today. Thanks for joining me.